I'm in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area right now. We'll be here for a couple more days. And last night, as you might know or might not know, the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA championship for the first time in half a century. And so there's a lot of excitement around here about that, which is fine. I'm cool with that. It's, some people are sports fans, some are not. I happen to moderately enjoy sports. I'm not judgmental of sports fans the way that certain dissident thinkers are. But here's what really struck me. I was listening to the radio today to the station that carries the Milwaukee Bucks games, and of course they were exultant, and which is fine. Enjoy your championship season, but it became clear that they were just going to be nothing but absolutely optimistic about everything concerning Milwaukee. It was like, oh, this is such a great franchise. Giannis is such a fine young man, and Milwaukee is such a wonderful community, and the parade happened today and it went off without a hitch. Everyone was so well behaved, and good things are coming for this community, and it's just a great place to live. It's a great place to be, and it's harmless, but it got a little annoying just hearing this relentless, kind of mandatory civic pride being expressed because your team won the championship, which, again, it's great that your team won the championship. Enjoy that. The fact that they won when it's a small market team, that's, even more of a thing to be proud of. But at the same time, there was something about how they were using this occasion to do nothing but relentlessly proselytize and shill for how wonderful a place Milwaukee is. Milwaukee and the Milwaukee area generally. Why? Because you have a great team? Because your team won the championship? That makes Milwaukee a great city? I mean, but it's pretty harmless, but what it made me think of is, this is a microcosm of how the media generally operates today. Not that, the media in general, the broad, entities that we call the mainstream media, not that they're interested at all in professional sports, but or the local team or anything like that. But the press is not free. That's the thing. That's what has to be understood. That's why what I've been experiencing listening to the radio here, and how they've been using the Bucks and their victory to shill for the wonderfulness of the city, and like use this occasion to try to broadcast, to try to seed into people's minds how wonderful a place Milwaukee is. That they're doing this because they're supposed to be doing this, right? That if someone deviated from this and said, well, Milwaukee's still got a lot of problems, I don't think this really solves anything. Remember what happened last year in Milwaukee? Look at the murder rate in Milwaukee. Whatever, things like that. Those kinds of voices would not be tolerated. And in the same way, even though it's definitely part of the truth. In the same way, the corporate media, the owned media, the media that, like we've just found out with Facebook, has a special relationship with those who with the ruling class, with those who control the institutions, the main institutions that arrogate to themselves the role of running our culture. They are not free to say certain things that are true, and certain perspectives, as we well know by now, are not tolerated and will not be tolerated. And you can get kicked off of social media even for saying the wrong thing about certain matters. And I don't want to I don't want to overstate the case, because or overstate that point, because it's a point that's been made many times before. What I want to draw attention to is the fact that this media is not free. The media as we know it is not free. Now, there might be some reporters out there who are actually trying to do their jobs, who are actually trying to cover things in an unbiased way. But what will be allowed to grace the front pages, or the pages of the websites of FoxNews.com or CNN.com or WashingtonPost.com or whatever the hell the other main sites of the mainstream media are. What these stories will be carefully chosen for, not for communicating the truth, but for seeding ideas into people's minds. In other words, it's essentially propaganda. There's this ridiculous arrogance. I don't know if at this stage, I don't know if it's still even much of a claim anymore. But for a long time, there has been this ridiculous arrogance about the Western media, as opposed to, let's say the Soviet media. Like, oh, well, if you were in Soviet Russia and you read something in Pravda, well, you know that's just what the state is putting out there. That's state-run news. And today, that's what neoliberals, anti-Russian neoliberals would say about RT, that it can't be trusted because it's state-run. Well, what we have in the West is corporate-run news, corporate-run media, and the corporations essentially control the state. What we have is a corporate state, and that was how the fascist economy, or the fascist the fascist form of government was spoken of as being a corporate state, whereby certain bodies held sway that were knitted to the state, the way that a bunch of sticks are woven together, which was the symbol of the fascists, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but what the name fascist comes from. And that's what we have now. That's the reality of things right now. There is still ostensibly freedom of speech, at least in the United States, there is. But of what value is freedom of speech if only one perspective, or a very narrow range of perspectives, is allowed, and everything outside of those bounds of what's considered acceptable gets you deplatformed and makes your name mud if you deviate at all from this very narrow strip of acceptable ideas about various things, including various important things, then you are relegated to the status of an outcast, of a thought criminal, of a bad person, a wrong person, a wrong thinker. And this is an intolerable state of things. And it's I know that this has always been the case to a certain degree or extent, but right now, things have never been so tightly controlled. The news has never been so tightly controlled. And that's why, when Luke Ford tried to call me out, or tried to embarrass me by asking, well, where do I go for my news sources? Where do I get my information on the news? I'm not a newsy person, because I have the deep down sense that what you can find in the news, what's being broadcast to you as the news, cannot be trusted. It's the Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, is a thing. It's not just some crazy conspiracy theorist notion. It's a documented thing, and it's happening, and it's happened. I think that the consolidation is almost complete, to the point where now what we're hearing, what you hear when you hear the news, is almost certainly a lie, or at the very least a deception. So no, I don't. I'm a responsible citizen. I want to stay well informed. I'm going to subscribe to the New York Times, and I'm going to watch CNN. I don't know if this is what Luke Ford thinks of as the responsible citizen who's not a pathetic dissident loser. Not to bring up Luke Ford again, but naturally it just sort of came out because he thought he really had me when he said, "Oh yeah, well, where do you get your news from? Where do you get this information from?" I mean, I get my information from various places, but there's nothing nothing comes to mind. I don't think to myself, what's the truth of things? Oh, I'll consult the blank, this mainstream newspaper, that mainstream 24-hour news site. It's silly. Anybody who still believes that that's where you get the news, who still believes that that's where you find what is true, you're either lying to yourself, or you're trying to spite people who you don't like. The Trump people who vote for Trump don't like the New York Times, so I'm going to follow the New York Times out of spite. Well, I mean, if your spite outweighs your interest in truth, then I don't know. I don't know what I can really tell you. You're lost. So anyway, all of this sort of just came to me as a microcosm. Just listening to the radio today, and listening to them go on and on about how wonderful Milwaukee is, and have this Milwaukee love fest that is just nonstop, and about how everything is great in this city because the NBA team won the championship. That doesn't quite follow. Again, nothing wrong with enjoying your winning the championship, your team winning the championship. But that was very instructive. That was very informative. Insofar as I know that this station is intentionally putting these things out there, and it's generally harmless, even if it's annoying. But what the mainstream news source, what the corporate news, the corporate state nexus that's called the news media. What they're doing is very similar, just the same stuff over and over and over and over again. Nothing, no ideas allowed that deviate from this narrow strip of acceptable ideas. How is that really any different from Pravda in Soviet Russia? It's not. It's not any different. I think our news media is just as worthwhile and just as worthless as the state-run media in Soviet Russia, or the state-run media in North Korea, or wherever. And again, it's probably always been this way to a degree, but I think it's much worse now than it's ever been before. And it's a real problem. And it's an untenable thing. It's not something that can stand too much longer when you've got, at least a broad swath of the population aware that they're being lied to, and the other, another part of the population knows that they're being lied to, but just wants to spite the other side. So they evince this kind of haughty contempt for those who don't read the New York Times or listen to NPR or whatever, and think that they're losers. Anyway, my point has been made. Let me know what you think. My name's Andy Nowicki. Check out my work at altrightnovelist.com. Please check out my new book, The Insurrectionist, available from Terror House Press.